Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Hour 2. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, officially working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Fast moving first hour. Appreciate Sam Spiegelman for being with us talking some recruiting. JD Pickell returns to the show. First time since, I guess, SEC Media Days when we chatted with JD, but he's going to be with us every week moving forward during the season. He'll be here at the bottom of hour number 2, 30 minutes from now. Talk about a little bit of the national storylines around college football, but I'm more interested in talking about actual ball on the field. So we're going to do that with JD coming up in 30 minutes. Let's talk Saints for the first time today. Saints and Cowboys will battle at 7 o'clock on Friday night from Arlington inside AT&T Stadium to conclude both teams' preseason slate. So that's coming up rather quickly as we're now into Wednesday afternoon. Kellen Moore met with the media earlier this week and addressed a few topics. I want to start with the personnel that the Saints have looked at. We've given our opinion on it, but I want to hear from Kellen Moore on it. So why would you go bring in a kicker in Daniel Carlson? I feel like I know the answer, but let Kellen tell me.
Yeah, just, Daniel's a really talented kicker. He's had a lot of success in this league, and feel like there's worthy opportunities there for a competition. Get him involved here. We'll anticipate trying to kick here in 2 days on Wednesday, and we'll go from there. That
was an incredibly diplomatic answer. Well said, where he talks about, hey, look, there's an opportunity there. Yeah, that's a nice way of saying the two guys we had in here can't split the uprights from 40 yards away. We got to find someone who can split the uprights from 40 yards away. Carlson, you've been doing it for a while. Get in there. And I think you're going to see Daniel Carlson kick in the preseason game coming up on Friday, and I think you're going to see Carlson win that job. We talked to Sharif Ishak about it yesterday. We'll talk to Luke Johnson about it tomorrow. I just don't see how that could possibly go another way. There is too much negative in the track record for the other two guys not to go and make a change there. Now, on the flip side, this is Kellen Moore talking about bringing in Zamir White. This is not necessarily due to poor performance. The Saints running backs have actually made some plays in the preseason, but none of them can stay healthy outside of Achin, who they're treating with kid gloves. So they got to go get somebody, and they traded Debo Jones for Zamir White. Why?
I think good vertical one-slash runner. I think from a zone standpoint, he'll transition really well here. What he was being asked to do in San Francisco will transition well here, and so I feel like it'll give him an opportunity to compete on Friday, and it'll be good.
Good. Get him out there on Friday. Let's see what he's got. I realize everyone's saying don't play any running backs on Friday. That's not really realistic. So get somebody in there and see if you can get some reps and get ready to go for 2 weeks from that Sunday when you open the season in Detroit. So nothing earth-shattering there from Kellen Moore, but hearing from him. Now, this is the question I was most interested in hearing, and the answer was rather short. Are you going to play some starters in this last preseason game to get some reps?
We're going to work through it. Haven't made a total decision yet. So, today was kind of a day to kind of rejuvenate these guys a little bit after a really good week, and then we'll kind of see where we're at tomorrow.
I was curious to hear him say really good week in California. And it may have been a really good week that ended with a complete dud on television. That's completely within the realm of possibility. But I do find some humor in Kellen Moore saying we're going to work through it when it comes to getting some guys reps in Friday's game. Like I feel like that decision is probably made early in the week, right? But he's just not interested at all in divulging that to the media as public information, which is completely fine. But it does just allow us to run rampant with speculation and jabber back and forth about what they will or won't do, because he doesn't say anything far more often than he does. Now, this was the longest bite of the day, and it transitions away from what the Saints are getting done this week into the bigger picture down here in this market, which deals with a former Saints player and LSU, and then the issue at whole, which is guys signing with professional teams and then going back to the college ranks. And Kellen Moore gave his longest answer at the press conference on that process.
I just think it's unfortunate. There's no regulation to anything right now. Obviously, my brother coaches college football, so I get to kind of follow closely from a fan perspective, just watching everything that college football is going through. And so, I think it's a balancing act. Obviously, you want as many opportunities for all these guys. At the same time, there's kids that just work their tail off all offseason and all season long, and they have to make decisions on their roster now because of added players. And so I think there's a challenging balancing act of this, and hopefully there can be some leadership and some regulations developed here shortly.
For those unaware, Kellen Moore's brother Kirby is the head coach at Washington State. So while it may come as a little bit of a surprise that Kellen Moore kind of knows what's going on down here when you're so immersed in what you're doing in the National Football League and they don't have time to worry about the chaos that's going on below them, he is, because his brother is dealing with all of that. And so, yeah, I think there are a lot of people that have brought that point up that, hey, when guys get cut because you're bringing players back to the college ranks, that's a real bummer. I would react to that when I see it. I've been asked that question no fewer than 10 times. What about the guys that get cut? What about the guys that get cut? Well, I haven't seen anyone get cut. So I'm not telling you at all that it's not happening or that it hasn't happened or that it's not going to happen, but I haven't seen that yet. And if that were to happen, yeah, that's a crummy situation, but it's part of the deal where, I don't sympathize too much with these guys that signed revenue sharing agreements that then wanted to breach them and then are fighting back about the payments. Like, get an attorney involved. These are 6-figure, 7-figure at points athletes. Tough stuff happens when you're dealing with that. There are things that go on. So again, I'll react to that if and when it does happen, but it hasn't to this point. But of course, the headliner of the marriage between the Saints and LSU in this instance is Xavier Harris, who was signed as a UDFA by the Saints and then released in early August. He's a guy that dealt with a foot injury, had a procedure done before the draft combine, and had a good senior season at Ole Miss, but then the Saints decided to move on from. And Kellen Moore talked about their experience with Xavier Harris, and I didn't think we were going to get a lot, and we didn't.
Yeah, obviously we were in a unique situation with him. He was coming off an injury, and so he never made it to the field with us. We spent some time with him, and obviously made a transaction that we felt like we needed to make.
I really don't laugh because Xavier Harris got cut. Like, that's not. I laugh at Kellen Moore's answers sometimes. It's like, yeah, we made a transaction. We just felt best. Like, we got the guy. He couldn't practice. He was hurt. We had to move on. I got it. I got you, Kellen. But yeah, I think a good week for New Orleans, a short week for New Orleans, probably involves some lower. That's a really poor way to say this because nothing came to me. Lower physicality practices for New Orleans after a really physical week last week with 2 joint practices and a preseason game. You would figure with a shorter week with a Friday game, you would take it easier on a lot of those guys and make sure that they know where to be and put some guys that are fighting for a roster spot on the practice squad or for other teams an opportunity to go out there relatively fresh on Friday. But based on what Kellen Moore said in his press conference about players playing in this game against Dallas, it sounds unlikely. I think if the plan was to do that, he would have known early in the week, and I don't think would have withheld that from the media. I get some coaches being secret about injuries and starting players when the regular season comes at any level. In the preseason week 3, like, what are we trying to hide from people here? We're going to go. We're going to do what is best for our organization, and you can tell people that. So nothing. Not too much meat on the bone there from Kellen, but I do think an important week for Saints to get a little healthier if possible, to get out there against Dallas, get a look at some guys, and then obviously when Monday rolls around, it's time to cut that roster down, time to assemble that practice squad, and time to push off the dock with the guys that you're going to bring into the regular season and let go of that roughly 40 guys that you move on without. So we'll see how that all shakes out over the course of the next 5 days with the Saints, who will travel to Arlington and play the Cowboys on Friday night. We're off and running here in hour number 2 on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Come back and talk some Tigers next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust, FABT.com. That's FABT.com. First American Bank and Trust. 116 years. First American Bank and Trust has been serving the people of Southeast Louisiana. It's important to them to do that. And you know that when you bank with First American Bank and Trust and you make that phone call to your bank, you get someone in South Louisiana. You get someone who you go to church with. You get someone who you see out at the Little League field. You get someone who is part of your community. You're not getting a call center somewhere on the West Coast or in the Northeast. And the decisions that are made on personal loans, on commercial loans by First American Bank and Trust are made locally. They impact the community. If you want to do business with a community bank, and that doesn't mean small bank, 25 locations, they've got your resources. Call First American Bank and Trust. Stop by one of their 25 locations in Southeast Louisiana or check them out online at fabt.com. It's First American Bank and Trust.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Really excited for what's coming up a week from tomorrow, Thursday, September the 3rd. Gordy Rush and myself going to be hanging out at Country Club of Louisiana for the tailgate kickoff for the St. George Chamber. It's brought to you by Immense. They bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week. And doors open at 5. The evening runs through 7 o'clock. Gordy and myself going to be talking some LSU football with some members of the chamber. And you can enjoy some tailgate bites, drinks, great company, and a purple and gold atmosphere. You don't have to be a member to come. Admission's $25 for members, $35 for non-members. If you'd like to sponsor, you can check out, you can go to Monica at stgeorgechamber.la. We'd love to see you Thursday, September the 3rd, 5 to 7 from Country Club of Louisiana, an LSU tailgate kickoff presented by Immense, who brings you, again, my Tuesday shows each and every week. This segment, I wanted to just kind of give my personal feeling on vibe check is the wrong word here, but it's just based on past performance and then just some things I've gleaned along the way and how I feel about this football team, this LSU football team. Jacob Hester had a chance to go out to practice yesterday, and he talked about it on OTB this morning. And he talked about how efficient things were running, how everyone was busy, how the staff was involved and engaged, even as big as it was. That just meant that they were dealing with fewer players individually and could be more engaged. The tempo was up offensively and defensively. The coaches were intense. And he and Matt Flynn spoke candidly on their show this morning. This is not some private conversation in the hallway. It's on their show this morning that they went to practice last year and kind of walked out of there and went, not sure about that. And Jake went as far as to draw parallels to the NFL organizations he just toured. If you missed this in the mornings, Jake traveled the country for SiriusXM, where he does his afternoon show for the NFL, and he went to over a dozen NFL training camps. And he saw how they practiced. And he saw some of the great organizations, and he saw some of the ones that you kind of look up in December, and they're looking at the number 1 draft pick. And you could tell who's running the show the right way, who's got things in line, in order, and moving like a finely oiled machine, and who doesn't. And I don't know if Sam Leavitt's going to be awesome. I don't know if you've got a true number 1 tailback. I'm not confident Malik Neighbors or Jamar Chase is on this team. I don't know if playing 2 defensive tackles who are true freshmen is the best way to win a championship. I'm not 100% certain. You've got enough depth at cornerback. There are some concerns that I have on this team. There are. That's the case with most teams around the country. And they may rear their ugly head, and LSU may go 7-5, they may go 8-4. But beyond all that, I've watched Lane Kiffin coach. I've watched his offenses hum at Alabama, at Florida Atlantic, at Ole Miss. It doesn't take a long time for them to hum. They hum pretty quickly. And I've watched Charlie Weiss call plays against Kirby Smart's defense and dice it up beautifully in the Superdome. And I think those 2 guys know what they're doing. I think they're going to score some points. And I watched Blake Baker inherit the worst defense I've ever seen. Atrocious. And he showed up, and he made them competent. They weren't great in 2024. They weren't great. but they were competent. And then last year, they took another step up to good. It was a good defense. It wasn't a great defense. It wasn't an elite defense. But guys were in the right place more often than not. They didn't bust a ton of coverages. They had trouble dealing with Diego Pavia in basically a triple option, and they can't figure Marcel Reed out. Everybody else in November can. He can't do anything against anybody in November except LSU. But he has against LSU. But beyond those two games, they were excellent against Clemson. They were excellent against Alabama. They were excellent against Oklahoma. They were excellent against Florida. There were a lot of games where they played really well. They wobbled a little bit in the second half against Arkansas, but they were good for the first half of that game. They didn't have any help from the offense at all. And so I look at Blake Baker's defense, and I go, okay, he's got veterans everywhere but defensive tackle. He's got some NFL talent, Benefield, Pickett, Weeks, Uman Mielen. And I think that's going to be a top half of the SEC defense. And to look at Lane Kiffin's track record, where he's led the SEC in rushing touchdowns last year, led the SEC in rushing 3 years ago, led the SEC in passing 2 years ago, did it with Corral, did it with Dart, did it with Chambliss, did it with Judkins, did it with Lacey. The coaching staff on this team helps me deal with what I perceive to be some potential concerns. And I thought that just knowing their track record. I thought that knowing Lane Kiffin's track record, knowing Charlie Weiss's track record, knowing Kevin Smith's with them, and George McDonald's with them, and Joe Cox is with them. I thought that knowing the track record. I thought that knowing Blake Baker's track record. Eli Drinkwitz really liked him at Missouri. Brian Kelly really liked him at LSU. Lane Kiffin played against him twice. Actually, more than that, he played against him at Missouri as well, but played against him at LSU twice and thought enough of him to keep him around. And I thought about the track record of those guys. And then you add in Corey Raymond. Jake Olson got a lot out of his safeties last year. Kevin Peoples has a great track record. You bring Ed Ogeron in. Like, those are some good ancillary pieces. And then you take the track record of those offensive coaches and those defensive coaches. And then you hear what Jacob had to say about yesterday at practice. And then he compared it to last year. And as I'm driving my car this morning, I'm dropping the kids off at school and I'm listening to those guys. I'm going, yeah, like I think based on what I've seen on TV, this. But Jacob just went and watched the Chiefs practice. He just went and watched the Eagles practice and the Steelers practice and the Seahawks practice and the Broncos practice. And then he comes back and he's seen LSU practice previously and he's seen this. He thinks it's pretty good. I got 9 days before I'm making a pick on LSU and Clemson. But the vibes in Clemson stink. There was a story out on 3 today talking about how that quarterback race that they thought Vizina had won it, maybe the reports coming out, not publicly, but through the grapevine of that things haven't been great in their scrimmages and may not be humming in a Chad Morris offense. Shocker. Chad Morris hasn't called an offense competently in like 6 years. They lost their biggest playmakers on defense. They did not grab a top 100 transfer. And it's like, it feels like things are crumbling under Dabo, where you're trying to scramble and get an offensive coordinator situation fixed. And do you have the right guy defensively to come in and make it work? And then you're not supplementing things out of the transfer portal. And it's like, everything seems to be kind of rocky in Clemson. And at LSU, yeah, everyone hates LSU and everybody thinks it's ridiculous that they're going into the courtroom. But that has nothing to do with what's going on the practice field. And I just get the sense in watching those coaches over the years and listening to Jake, this team is going to be prepared to play. They may not be good enough to beat Alabama and Texas at home back-to-back. They may not be good enough to go on the road at Ole Miss in that environment and win that game. They may not be able to go to Auburn and to Tennessee and sweep. Like, it's a landmine-filled schedule, right? We got that. But there's a confidence that I'm gathering that comes from having a head coach that knows what he's doing, having an offensive coordinator who everybody that's worked with thinks is a star, and having a defensive coordinator who's got 2 feet on the ground here in Baton Rouge and has steadily improved his unit since he got here and inherited a flaming dumpster fire doused in grease. I think there's just something to that gives me a little bit more comfort in a roster that was cobbled together quickly and expensively, that has to get a lot of guys up to speed in a different system or with different guys quickly, has massive expectations and plays 3 of its first 4 games in very, very, very intense environments. That's a heavy, heavy calling. But I do think LSU's coaching staff is really good. And I think there was a point last year where you looked up and went, is that position group getting coached right? Is that coordinator doing his job? Is that coach as locked in as he needs to be? I don't have the answers to those questions, by the way. You may roll your eyes and go, yes, you do. I don't know that. I'm not there. But I will tell you this. I'm not trading the guys they got in the building today for the guys they had in the building this time last year. No thanks. That's obvious, but deserves to be said. That practice report that Hester gave this morning kind of fired me up, and it had nothing to do with what player was running with the running with the ones, what player was running with the twos, what player made this big play. He didn't say any of that because it was not an open practice. He was there because they were giving out number 18, and he wanted to be there. And he was there with Benny Logan, and he was there with Richard Dixon, and I didn't see who else was in the picture, but like he was there as a guest to help bestow the number 18 on Braylon Moore. But he saw some stuff he really liked, and I trust Jacob as a football guy unbelievably. That's a comforting feeling down here in Baton Rouge. It may be obvious to you, but I spend a lot of time thinking about both sides of this coin, about the things I feel great about and the things I don't feel good about. And I told y'all over the years things I didn't feel great about. I did not like the offensive line last year. Year before that, I didn't think LSU could cover. Didn't think LSU could run the ball. And those things turned out to be true. I have my concerns about LSU stopping the run with freshman D tackles. I have my concerns about an injury at cornerback or whether or not Levitt is a dynamic playmaker that can compete to win the SEC. The guys they got on the headsets, I don't have a lot of questions about that. LSU's got that part covered for right now. We'll see how long you got Blake Baker here. We'll see how long you got Charlie Weiss here. We'll see how long you have Lane Kiffin here, quite honestly. But I feel pretty good about that brain trust as long as they are here. And they're here right now, and they'll be here for Clemson. So off we go. All right, let's take a time out. When we come back, J.D. Pickell talking National College Football storylines. That is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. They're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. The website is so user-friendly, y'all. It's part of the customer service experience. They take it very seriously in person when you go see them in St. Francisville, and they take it very seriously when you're online. So if you want a pre-owned vehicle, search by pre-owned. Then sort by make and model if you know which type of vehicle you want. Search by price if that's the main thing to you. Search by SUV or sedan. Search by mileage. It's all right there. And if you want to toggle 3 different ones, you can find the cars that meet your criteria. If you want a new vehicle, they got them. Incredible deals on trucks. GSC Sierras, Chevy Silverados. Awesome, awesome deals up until August 1st. So you need to, sorry, not August 1st because you'd miss that. Up until September 1st. That's until August 31st, as it were, on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at FabryChevrolet.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday shows all are brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com. That's builtbyrenaissance.com. On Wednesdays during football season, we talk to our guy J.D. Pickell, host of the Hard Count on 3, and it is football season. There is meaningful football being played this Saturday. We're not talking about it a lot around these parts because we got to talk about injunctions and temporary restraining orders and all those types of things. But there is football, and we're going to talk about it now. J.D. Pickell joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. How we doing, boss?
Dude, we made it. We made it. Whenever you get that Hunt Palmer text, hey, you ready to jump on the air today? You have no idea the caffeine that is for my soul and my cerebellum. Okay, I'm glad to be on the air with you. This is awesome. Let's talk some ball, man.
I can't bury our lead here. I know that you've been keeping up with all that's going on with players bouncing back and forth between training camps and potentially college campuses. Do you have an overarching thought on the whole thing?
I wish I didn't. I wish I could just say, I can't believe this is happening. There's no way it's going to happen, right? Like, well, I'm sure the NCAA and all their wisdom and power will step in and do the right thing. I'm scared. I'm scared, Hunt. I'm scared that this is going to be a thing that happens in reality. I'm scared that we're going to have NFL players going back and forth between college football. I think my biggest thing with all of this is we are telling ourselves, hey, it's a one-time thing. Like the whole 5-for-5 situation will sort itself out. This won't happen again in the future. One-time thing that sucks if we got guys that play in preseason games to come back to college football. But if it happens, it happens. Here we go. I don't think that's the reality. I think it's classic. If you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want some milk. If you give him some milk, he's going to want a bedtime. Like, I think we're moving towards this world where this becomes Pandora's box, and you open it up. There's more in there than just this nonsense of NFL players going back to college football.
It's hard to stop that train. Obviously, you don't feel as though there's any teeth in these conferences saying they're going to suspend coaches for half a season and cut your budget in half. You're fearing they can't enforce that; they'll just get sued and lose.
I'm fearing that. Yeah, precisely. Now, I do think as we get further into this, I'm glad that most people are aligned with the common sense idea. Hey, this probably shouldn't happen. Like, I feel good about that. But I mean, what do they say? Hunt, hurt people hurt people. We've been hurt too many. I mean, shoot, Brendan Sorsby didn't play college football, not because the NCAA did anything, not because the Big 12 stepped in and flexed their muscle. Like, Brendan Sorsby didn't play college football this year because of bullying, because the Big 12 was going to say, hey, you can't play in our conference title game. But, like, there was nobody actually able to do anything to keep him from playing college ball. So I say all that to say, if that's possible, if we're not able to draw the line there with, like, paperwork, I don't have a ton of faith that we're going to be able to draw the line here.
It's an intimidating thing. It's a litigious society we have here. We'll see kind of how it shakes out, and certainly if LSU will be impacted one way or another. Let's talk about actual football because they're going to play it week 0 this weekend. North Carolina and TCU from Dublin. I admittedly don't know a lot about these teams. I know who North Carolina's coach is. That's about the extent of what I got. What can you help me with, and how do you see it going?
Yeah, Billy Edwards Jr. is going to be their starter. He was on Wisconsin's roster last year, hurt for the majority of it. Pretty good 2024 at Maryland, like completed 70% of his passes, like just over 250 a game through this. Like a good player, productive player. I don't know about you, Hunt. I'm a big smells guy. Like if things don't smell right to me, I usually keep my distance. You can tell if some fish has gone bad by how it smells. You can tell if someone takes care of themselves and brushes their teeth by how they smell. I haven't liked the way North Carolina smells since Bill Belichick took that job.
Yeah.
Dude. So for those reasons, I'm staying away from that aroma. Harvard transfer Jaden Craig, at the very least, smart dude playing quarterback for you. I think TCU gets it done. I don't know if it's quite as lopsided as it was last year, but I do think TCU wins, and I'll go ahead and say they cover that number of 7.5.
I don't care about the 39.5 with USC and San Jose State, but I am curious your thoughts on Lincoln Riley's program. He seems to be talking confidently out there. They've been under the radar for a couple of years since he took that job, and really since they beat LSU. What do you feel about USC this season, not necessarily on Saturday?
I think they're a playoff team. I think they finally now have a roster in place to go compete for the college football playoff. I think they brought back enough experience to be a playoff team. And it's funny, like, I know Lincoln Riley had that quote of, well, now the playoff window is open. Like, it took some time. It wasn't a time thing for USC in their playoff window. It was a internal thing, an infrastructure thing at USC. I think having Jen Cohen and Chad Bowden working together, the AD and GM out there, you've seen that difference. I think the new strength coach they have has changed that culture. I think we'll see that difference. So it wasn't a time thing for the playoff window, but now they have done the proper things from an input perspective to get a playoff level output. So I think USC is a playoff team. I think we're gonna see glimpses of how good that roster is here against San Jose State this first week of the college football season.
Same type of question with Florida State. Obviously, very different vibes around that program. Mike Norvell still hanging around, even though they haven't been very good, again, since they beat LSU and Jordan Travis left. How are we feeling about Florida State? We know they got a big non-conference game beyond that with Alabama, but what do we think about a game against New Mexico State?
If Florida State doesn't beat the brakes off New Mexico State, Hunt, we're going to have a different conversation next time I'm on here.
Yep.
I think they should. I think they will. At large for Florida State, though, I don't feel a ton of pity. Like, I think a lot of the times people are a product of their decisions, and the great part about, society is you have free will. I feel a lot of pity for Florida State fans, man. Like, you just talk to a Florida State fan, they don't have the same color in their face. There's no light in their eyes. Just apathy. It's like, dude, what happened to you? Like, it's like your friend that graduated with honors from high school. They're working at Walmart. It's like, dude, you had so much going for you. You beat that Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels team. Like, you had the whole world in front of you, and now you're bagging my groceries. You're like, what's going on? So I hate that for them. I feel pity for them. I know it's a big buyout number, but like, if you're serious about winning at the highest level, like, you pay big buyout numbers. See LSU, see Penn State. So it is what it is. I think Mike Norvell's probably a better coach than like he is given credit for now these last couple of years. I think the things in place at Florida State on the roster building side, not excusing Mike Norvell, have been nowhere near good enough. So apathy is a sad thing to see in Tallahassee.
All right, let's go big picture. Who's your Big Ten champion this year?
I got the who do I have winning the Big Ten? I have Ohio State winning the Big Ten. I think that Julian Sain and that roster is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think Oregon, if they won it, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I've gone back and forth there. I love Oregon this year, but I think Ohio State, Julian Sain, and the guys get it done.
How do you feel about the SEC?
Man, I'd love to be hipster and go Texas, or like, be real trendy and pick like an A&M or someone, or Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's going to be real good. I think it's Georgia till it's not. Like, I think Gunnar Stockton is wildly underrated for what he's done in this conference. And I think I value my sleep at night and getting good REM. I would have bad sleep if I picked against Georgia and Kirby with what they've done the last 2 years.
A couple of SEC-centric questions for you. First-year coach, who you like better? You like Summerall in Florida this year or Golish at Auburn this year?
Ooh, it's funny. I have Auburn beating Florida week 3. I have them both going 7-5.
Okay.
So by that logic, I guess you would say I like Auburn more this year. I think I like Florida if you gave me a 3-year runway. So this year, I think Golish has maybe just got more in place. Like, they portaled in their whole offense that scored 38 a year ago. So like, they should be a step ahead of where Florida is. But I think once Florida gets what I call like those marketable moments, once you get John Summerall on a microphone with Holly Rowe post game in the Swamp after a big win, and you can pitch that to kids to go along with the brand of NIL, like, I think there's a lot there for that place to ascend pretty quickly. So I think Florida is probably the horse I would ride here if you gave me a couple of laps to work with.
All right, let's finish up with the home team here. We'll talk LSU Clemson next week. But do you feel like this stuff that's going on off the field in courtrooms is a distraction to LSU's current team?
That's a great question. I think it is probably, if you could tell me we get to work without that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more of a distraction if it wasn't guys that this staff was so familiar with. So to answer all the, like, I don't, and also it's not positions that, at least to my knowledge, Hunt, is like going to be a massive gaping hole for LSU if they don't get DeQuan right. Like they still are pretty well resourced across the board. So, would it be cool to not have this be a thing on your timeline if you're an LSU football player? Yes. But at the same time, like, as a player, it's so out of your control, and it's so beyond you to even really worry about. Like, does DeQuan Wright play first this year? We'll see. But I got meetings here in 30 minutes and practice after that. Like, I gotta handle what's in front of me right here. So not great, but also I don't think it really impacts the overall psyche for LSU when it comes to what they'll be this year.
Enjoy the football this weekend, my friend. We'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Love you, Hump. See you soon, brother.
JD Pickell, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports. Catch him on YouTube, wherever you find your sound. You can find my guy, JD. You can find him with us on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, speaking of, we're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com. If you want the pool of your dreams, you can get the pool of your dreams. But maybe you've already got a pool, but it's 10 years old. It's 12 years old. It's 15 years old. Maybe your plaster's fading. They can come in and remove the old and reinstall the new plaster. They don't even have to remove the waterline tile. It might be a good time to do that if you're updating your pool. And if you get that new waterline tile, new plaster, your pool's going to look brand new. That remodel can expand to the decking, to your pool equipment, adding automation, control pumps, heaters, heater lights, valves. So if you've got a pool already, want to take it to the next level, revitalize it, add some bells and whistles, Renaissance Homes and Pools can do that for you. Contact Joey. I give you his cell phone number every single week. It's 225-252-7745. That's 225-252-7745. Text Joey, say, hey, heard Hunt talking. I need to renovate my pool. Hey, I heard Hunt talking about you. Need the pool of my dreams. Hey, I heard Hunt talking about you. I'm looking for an outdoor kitchen. Joey can do all of it. It's Renaissance Homes and Pools. Check out some of their great work at builtbyrenaissance.com. Chugging along here on a Wednesday. I'm going to watch a little of Week 0. I'm not generally a huge Week 0 guy. I would prefer it if there were some SEC flair to it. I'm not the guy that's going to watch football just to watch football. You are not going to catch me watching Jacksonville State, North Dakota State. You will not catch me watching any of Hawaii and Stanford. I don't care to watch any of that. I will flip on a little North Carolina TCU. I will flip on a little NC State Virginia from Charlottesville. I'll check that out. And if I'm desperate and I'm awake, maybe Memphis UNLV, little Dan Mullen, perhaps. But I got to check the Cubs out on Saturday. But I'm going to watch some Week 0 as well. I'm excited to get this thing off and running and get into a little bit of football because I hear y'all and I understand that we're a little bit fatigued with all of this stuff, but it is quite simply dominating the news cycle. It is dominating the ESPN shows. I mean, those guys on ESPN are plugged into NFL stuff in June. They're plugged into NFL stuff in March with they're always in on the NFL, and they're breaking into this to talk about what's going on in Baton Rouge courtrooms and Colorado courtrooms and Browns practice facility. And it is dominating the headlines. So we certainly have to talk about it. And I've got a column up at louisianasports.net if you want to go check out kind of my feelings on it. Ultimately, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. The kid taking off. I realize people are pushing back on that. It's just a habit to say kid. I don't mean to infantize these players, but a young man taking off a Browns helmet and putting on an LSU helmet was what ultimately put everybody into a tizzy. And I talked about it at the top of the show, and I wrote about it at louisianasports.net. I invite you to go check that out for free. But we'll get into some real football stuff as we move forward into this week. And certainly next week with LSU and Clemson. Got a couple of Clemson guests for you. And I'm probably going to talk some Clemson tomorrow. I wanted to let this breathe a little bit, but there are some reports coming out of Clemson that are not really glowing at this point, and I think it's relevant to talk about here in Baton Rouge when I get a minute. I just haven't quite had that this week because we've been just all over all this kind of stuff that includes a little bit of basketball as well. So we got 15 minutes left to go here on this Wednesday edition. We'll come back and close it out. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services, boudreauxelectrical.com. That's boudreauxelectrical.com. Had some nasty weather in these parts this week, and perhaps you lost power. And I bet that wasn't a lot of fun because we've all been there, and your house gets hot really quick this time of year, and it's dark, and your fridge is not going to function, nor is the freezer. It's a bad deal. And sometimes it's 2 hours, which is an inconvenience. Sometimes it's 4 days, which is a nightmare. So go ahead and make sure you've got the peace of mind to know the power's not going to go out on you. You get that Generac home standby generator from my friends Neil and Melissa at Boudreaux's Electrical Services, and call it a day. Realize that when the power goes out in your neighborhood, you're going to be powered right up. You give them a call at the same number they've had for 40 years, 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. You can also call the Gonzales location at 225-300-9389. They're local. They have a local team to install that generator, a local team to maintenance that generator, local team for you to call and have on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services, online at boudreauxelectrical.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Talk to Luke Johnson tomorrow. Of course, covers the Saints for NOLA.com and The Advocate. Not sure if he'll be in Texas yet or not, but Saints and Cowboys on Friday night from Jerry World. So get Luke's preview of that one, and really probably less previewing that game and more so previewing what Monday could look like on cut day and what kind of a competition you're getting there at the end of the Saints roster and then onto the practice squad. So looking forward to our conversation with Luke, and we'll certainly advance the story with the TROs and the injunctions as it happens in the world of collegiate athletics, specifically around LSU. But for today, one last order of business. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, so three-time NBA slam dunk champion Matt McClung fell short in the Dunkman World Championship on Tuesday. Didn't know this was going on in the upset loss. So it wasn't for a lack of a jaw-dropping dunk as McClung, he soared over three people. They were stacked in the car, three people on top of each other, and he dunked over them, jumped over them. But however, he was dethroned by a 39-year-old, a.k.a. the King of China, the dunk king of China, Ding Chen, as he pulled off the upset win as he jumped over somebody sitting on a motorcycle between the legs. 39 years old, he did this. I've seen the highlights. Crazy.
Man.
Yeah. So McClung dethroned in an upset loss. Take it or leave it.
Hold on. Is this bad? Because
three-time champion,
there are some questionable ethics with like gymnastics and Olympic stuff with the Chinese.
Yeah.
Could there be a 39-year-old who's soaring over motorcyclists? Maybe we could have some improprieties. What are the testing before this event? Is this bad thing to bring up?
I don't know.
There's a checkered past here with that Olympic committee.
But also, we got to keep in consideration. A man 39 years old, so you might be on a little juice.
You could be. Although, and here's the other part of that. If this is just a dunk competition,
yes,
do I want all my guys on juice? I want just a steroid-riddled dunk contest.
We need to sell tickets to that. That's actually a good idea.
Juice up.
A steroids dunk contest. That would actually
there
be.
There you go. See?
You know, when ESPN starts putting like cornhole and stuff on TV, steroid dunk competition.
Look, if we're going to have no rules in college football, we might as well put that involved too.
Hey, juice them up. So, speaking about football, ESPN is getting rid of the bottom line tracker during college football games. The network confirmed with Front Office Sports. So, no more bottom line ticker. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. I want the scores. I mean, I realize I can get them on my phone really quick, but there's access to them right there. This tells me there's a potential for what?
Some ads. Yeah, ads. Yeah.
I got it. I only have so much room on the screen. If I've got the bottom line rolling and I want to roll ads, then I got too much coverage. I'm taking the scores off, throwing the ads on. That's how I see that.
I see it like that too now. When you say it like that,
yep.
Yeah, they're definitely going to replace that with like Coca-Cola or something like that. So the PGA Tour announced on Wednesday that Matt Gogol has been suspended from competition for 6 months through February 22nd for betting on golf tournaments. Okay. The announcement noted that Gogol didn't place any bets on tournaments in which he participated. Gogol released a statement saying he unknowingly violated the PGA Tour policy by placing small recreational wagers on golf. Didn't know you could gamble? Take it or leave it?
Leave it. Are you an idiot?
Leave it alone.
Leave it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You have direct access to guys in the field.
Exactly.
If there's a guy who's out of the tournament and you need him to go over 71 and you can give him some side action there, can't have it. You can't have it. So it's just these guys have got to be smarter than this. This is not a 16-year-old kid making a mistake. Matt Gogol's been around the box. Around the block. You can't. Around the tee box, I guess. You can't do it. I don't want to hear it. You're suspended. I don't want to hear it.
But the fact he came out and said he didn't know he could do that, that's crazy. So DoorDash is offering eligibility to college students for a full free year pass of the DoorDash pass.
Lord
for free,
have mercy.
But only if they claim the limited edition or the limited deal before October 12th. Students have until October 12th to sign up. Anyone who missed the deadline can subscribe for about $5 per month. So free DoorDash pass for college students. Take it or leave it.
Dude.
Got it.
I mean, take it. I mean, if I had a free DoorDash pass, it would be a significant problem.
Would.
Significant problem. Shout out my guy Phil Stewart, who literally lived in the closest apartment to Pluckers on Nicholson. He lived up against the fence right behind Pluckers.
You
cannot live closer to Pluckers. Used to get that delivered. Used to have them come in through the gate, delivered to him.
Oh,
my guy.
What a guy.
Getting them delivered closest apartment to the restaurant.
See, that's called prime real estate.
It is, but I mean, if I already gained 60 pounds in college. It just is what it is. But like that free DoorDash would have been a problem.
4 years. So that's it for Take It or Leave It.
That's it for us today. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. BuiltByRenaissance.com is where you can find them. Talked about LSU's legal battles. I guess not LSU's legal battles. The legal battles involving players being recruited by LSU, probably more aptly put. Sam Spiegelman's with us from Rivals talking LSU recruiting. You can find that at Hunt on LSU. It was a What If Wednesday. Talked about LSU awarding 18 and 2 7s this year. You can find that at Hunt on LSU as well. A little bit of Kellen more sound. That's Hunt on Saints. And shout out JD Pickell for coming back into the fold with us on Wednesdays, talking some college football. Always enjoy that conversation. That's it for us. So everybody has a safe and happy Wednesday evening. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. We're back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
I'm telling you about Marucci. Official bat of Major League Baseball is made at Marucci. You want to learn how? Well, you can go take a campus tour. You can see where they make 1,200 bats every single day and send them to the best players in the world. And it's all done right here in Baton Rouge. How cool is that? That the best players in the world in Major League Baseball swing bats that are made here in Baton Rouge, and you can see just how they do it, how they cut them down, how they trim them up, how they stain them, how they ship them off right there at Marucci. If you'd like to hear the story of how two former big leaguers and their athletic trainer in a backyard shed created over the course of 2 decades the home of the official bat of Major League Baseball, you can learn that story at the tour. It's such a cool experience. If you've got young kids, highly recommend you take them. If you haven't been on the tour at Marucci, highly recommend you go check it out. It's the official bat of Major League Baseball, and it's made right here in Baton Rouge. It's at Marucci, MarucciSports.com.